welcome to the All Good Things podcast. This is episode 1. I'm your host, Melissa Moyle. On the All Good Things podcast, we talk about how to find more joy and fulfillment as young single adults in the LDS Church. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your personal purpose and contribution, and how to break through obstacles to achieve it. Welcome to the first episode of All Good Things. I wanted to take a minute to introduce myself and to explain what the All Good Things podcast is about. My name is Melissa Moyle. I'm 29 years old. I am not married yet, and I am a Mormon. If you're listening to this, maybe you find yourself in a similar situation. As I'm sure that many of you know, there are lots of ups and downs that come with single life, especially being single in the LDS Church because of all the expectations around marriage and family. I fought with feelings of self-doubt and not feeling good enough a lot. Looking back now, I realized that I didn't even take the time to really get to know myself or to take time to have a relationship with myself. And I think a big part of why is that I didn't know how. I know that sounds cheesy, but for me, it was really important for me to learn to listen to my heart instead of my head. Our heart makes decisions from a place of love, or because God is love, a place of God. I felt like I was doing everything I could. I had a good job. I was serving in my church calling. I was praying and reading my scriptures. I was dating here and there. But I felt an overall lack of excitement, and I couldn't think of what else to do to bring that back. There were moments of excitement with travel and friends, but they were all fleeting. I felt so impatient. I just couldn't understand why God wouldn't bless me with a husband. I thought I was doing everything right. I saw miracles happen for other people, but it just never seemed to work out for me. I saw little successes in my life, but not the ones I really wanted. I was still learning things and growing, but not at the pace that I wanted to. I had just pictured my life in my late 20s so completely differently than what my reality was that it was really hard to let go of the vision I had growing up my whole life and to know what to make of my new reality. Anytime that I had to go back to the family ward for a family event or for a friend, it felt so foreign to me. I had been out of that world for so long that it didn't feel like I had a place there anymore, and it felt like I was being judged when I was there because I wasn't married, and it felt like people were looking at me with pity or like something was wrong with me, despite all that I'd been able to accomplish and do in my life. I had had great jobs. I graduated with honors from college. I served a mission. I was progressing in my career. I even bought a house. It all meant nothing to them because all they saw was the poor defective single girl that hadn't managed to get married yet. Or at least that's how it came across to me. There was a dark time where I wanted to stop trying, where it was just too painful to keep trying and to keep getting let down. And it was just too painful to have hope again and having it lead to seemingly nowhere. I felt completely alone. I still had good friends and I had my family, but I watched my sister and her husband start their family, and I watched the joy that it brought my parents having grandkids, and it was just heartbreaking to me that I couldn't be doing the same. I knew they loved me and supported me, but I felt completely alone. I know there are a lot more pressing problems in the world, and there are people who have been through much more traumatic things, but for me at the time, it was extremely painful. I tried to numb the feelings and pretend like I was fine. I got really good at numbing. Netflix binging, working long hours, taking on way too many projects, traveling the world, eating, whatever I could do to pretend like I was fine and that I was okay. The numbing and putting off actually dealing with my emotions caught up with me, though. I started to have unhealthy thoughts, and it scared me. Okay, so I'm weird, and I've always thought that therapy sounded really fun. There was always something fascinating to me about the prospect of someone digging into what I do and helping me to figure out why I do it. This was a point in my life where I felt like it was actually a justifiable thing for me to go. So I decided to go and see if it would help. The first one I went to was awful. She let me talk and cry for an hour, and she didn't say a thing. And then at the end, she suggested looking into medication. And she told me to picture my troubles as a leaf falling into the river and floating down. I was ticked. I didn't suffer from clinical depression. Even I could tell that from the little I knew about depression. I was shocked that she would just throw medication at me that quickly. That didn't help me at all. And the leaf thing, like, it just wasn't enough for me to feel better at all. It didn't help me at all, and I left feeling so much worse than I did when I got there. Luckily, I decided to try again, and I found another therapist that was amazing. She actually had practical solutions and helped me to see how hard I was being on myself. She talked more about mental patterns and how I was trying to control my emotions, which we can't do. Newsflash to me. We can, however, decide how to react to our emotions. Anyway, she gave me some actual practical things that I could do, and it helped a ton. And that was the beginning of a much bigger change for me. I didn't go to therapy for long, but she had taught me enough that I could start being nicer to myself. I made big changes in my life after that. I moved, I got a new job, I was dating more, I became a temple worker, I bought my condo. Life was good, but it was about to get so much better. I was pretty happy in most aspects of my life at this point, but it took some more digging for me to really tap into true joy. One of my new roommates introduced me and my other roommate to a goal-taking class. Well, not so much introduced us as we were told we were going and that we didn't really have much choice in the matter. She had gone through it before and loved it, so she wanted to send us. They were teaching a lot of things that made sense and most that I already felt like I knew, but that I wasn't doing. The main thing it helped me to realize, though, was that I had been discounting everything that I had done in my life, and I felt like a failure because I hadn't reached my goal of marriage yet. I realized quickly that the only way I would actually follow through and start making real progress towards my own personal goals and to having a higher mindset and quality of living in general was that I was going to need to have some accountability. I was never good at reaching a goal on my own, unless it was for a bigger cause and for another person. I know in the church we're taught to serve and to think of others' needs, but I don't think we can truly do this unless our own needs are met. If we're not filled, we have little to give. I don't just mean our physical needs, although those are really important, but I think our emotional needs and our well-being are the most important because that will feed into every other area of our life and has the most effect on us. Anyway, I realized that I needed some more accountability, and they had a class that they would help you achieve an outrageous goal in 90 days. So I decided to go for it. I didn't choose a traditional goal, however. I realized that nothing that I had achieved in my life was making me happy. Yes, it was helping me grow, improving my quality of life, and yada, 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 but it wasn't making me deeply happy. Because of my unmet expectations, I still felt like a failure even after everything I had done. So I didn't set out to accomplish a traditional goal, but I made a goal to be more authentic and to find more joy in my life. I had this vision of returning to my childlike, carefree, adventurous ways. Long story short, I was able to get in touch with what really made me happy and what didn't. I also did some real soul searching to get in touch with what I really wanted in life. I realized that if I were to continue on the track that I was on, I'd probably do fine, but I probably wouldn't get to where I truly wanted to be, and that I could be aiming so much higher in my life. A big part of the class was getting past the things that were holding you back, which involved a lot more soul searching and recognizing things that I had come to believe in my life that just plain weren't true. I realized quickly that where I felt the least authentic and the least joy was in my job. I was working for a good company. I agreed with their ideals. It was good. It was for a good cause. But for some reason, I just wasn't happy there, and it just wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I had convinced myself because it was a good thing, I was okay there, and it was a responsible thing for me to do to stay there. I didn't even really pay attention to what I really wanted. I think part of it was the stressful work environment, the mentality that every second had to be filled with work that I didn't love. But there was a big part of me too that knew that there was more I could be doing. And there was more out there, and I wasn't figuring out what that was. Because work was sucking up the majority of my time and my energy, and it was really hard to see a way out of it. And to even realize that I wanted more, I had to do some serious work to find it. With the help of one of the teachers, I finally was able to see more clearly what I had always toyed around with in my head, but never thought I could do, never thought could actually be an option because it just seemed so irresponsible. I really just wanted to quit my job and to take some time to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Maybe travel a little more and just take some time to figure out what I really wanted. He asked me what was the one thing, if I could do anything I wanted, what I would do. And I told him that it was to quit my job. He asked me why I didn't go do it then. And I said, hello, I have a mortgage payment and responsibilities. I can't just up and quit my job. He told me that all of those sounded like excuses. I was a little shocked by this because they're all pretty valid excuses in my book. Like, you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and making a living. But he said it again, and he said, if your heart is telling you that that's what you need to do, then that's exactly what you need to do. And you know you're not going to be happy doing anything else. And when he said that, it was like a light turned on and it just clicked. And from that point on, I knew that was exactly what I needed to do. There was no turning back. The decision had already been made in my mind. I was going to quit. I honestly don't think I have ever been that blissfully happy in my life. Just having the realization that I absolutely was supposed to follow my heart, no matter the cost. And that I had way more control over my life and situation than I thought I did. It brought me bursting joy. I honestly don't think that I have ever experienced joy that intense. In retrospect, I think that I was experiencing this joy because it was the atonement of our Savior taking effect in my life. I had made a decision to follow my heart, and the desires of our heart truly are from God. At the time, it just felt like I was following what I wanted to do deep down, but later I realized I was making a decision to follow Him again. It was the most touching experience to me that helped me to realize that not only does He want us to be happy, He wants us to be blissfully happy. Our deepest hopes and desires are aligned with God and His will for us. If we listen to that, He will not only take us there, but if we continue to listen, He will take us farther than we ever thought we could go. We will become tools in His hands, and He can do so much more with us than we ever could on our own, which brings immense joy. It was crazy to me how after I made that decision and I knew there was no way I was going back, that things fell into place for me. My mind started to figure out how it was all going to work. I've been doing graphic design for the past 5 years, and even though I hadn't been building up clients, jobs started falling into place. I had something to fall back on. It was Heavenly Father's divine providence. I want to add a disclaimer here that I am not encouraging anyone to go out there and quit their jobs. That's not what I'm trying to talk about here. I feel like that's what needed to happen for me personally. That was my own personal path, but I was lucky and I had something to fall back on, and I did have the option of doing freelance design. So please don't take this as go quit your jobs. No, take this as go find your individual path and what your heart is telling you to do. Don't go quit your job unless you really feel like that's exactly what you need to do. It's been a full year of ups and downs since then, but it has helped me to realize that I had more passions outside of design. It gave me the time I was looking for to really look to see what I wanted to do. And it gave me more time to explore ideas that were pressing on me to pursue. One of the main ones was this podcast. I had been a podcast junkie for years now, and I had heard so many awesome conversations of how to break through self-doubt, find what really lights you up in life, and just hearing from people that were doing amazing things all around the world, and I loved every minute of it. And I realized that we weren't having these conversations in a religious setting. There were so many mentions of spiritualism, but no one stopped to talk about them for long, or how important they were on the journey. And in my opinion, how it probably was the very key to the journey. I had the thought, it would be so fun to do a podcast like this from the perspective of someone in the LDS Church. I laughed because I'm seriously the last person on earth that you would ever suspect to do a podcast. But the thought kept pressing on me, and it kept pressing on me until it was finally a you need to do this now feeling. So here we are. So what are we going to talk about here on All Good Things? Why I share this story with you is because I feel like I know that I'm not the only one that has had this experience in my life. And the things that I've learned through with these self-development topics and classes have been so immensely helpful to me and have brought me so much joy and have really helped me to get in line with what God wants for me in my life. So I wanted to share that, and I wanted to hear more stories about how other people were doing it and how, because I know there's a million different ways of how to get there and that everyone's journey is different. And so I wanted to hear from other people, their experiences. So what we're going to be talking about on All Good Things, we're going to be exploring stories and ideas that can enhance our lives and help us find what lights us up and get in touch with God's purpose for us individually. Or if we've already found what lights us up, how we can push through the never-ending obstacles and find the needed courage to continue to pursue and do it. We're going to be talking to people who are out there living their passions and contributing to the world. From my experience, I always learn the best through stories and find courage when I see other people out there living their dreams. And what I've realized is that most of them are just normal people that are out there willing to push through their fear and let God make more of them than they ever could on their own. So I wanted to get some stories of some people that are closer to home and hear about the tools that other people were using to see success. And I wanted to relate it back to how all of this relates to us as YSA. So we're going to be talking about how to know which direction to go in life and how to make better decisions. We're going to be talking about how to feel like you are enough and like you're progressing and perfectly aligned with God's plan for you, even if you aren't close to getting married. We're going to talk about practical science and skills that you can apply now to help you progress faster and manage your time better and find more patience and joy in the journey. We're going to be talking about how to push past self-doubt and other obstacles that get in our way of following our heart and purpose. We're going to be talking about how to redefine your own expectations and your personal meaning for success and joy, and not buy into other people's expectations for you. And as a bonus, all of these things lead us to feeling happier and more fulfilled, which completely lights us up. And I believe that naturally draws us to people who are also finding that joy and that passion in their lives. Light attracts light, guys. This will help you with connecting with people on a deeper level and finding more true friendships and dating opportunities. Guys, I'm really excited to share all these conversations with you. I've already learned some awesome things from the amazing people that have come on the show so far, and I'm really excited for you to hear from them. So if this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, please subscribe and stay tuned for some more awesome insights and episodes. That's our show for today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit subscribe and share it with your friends. We would love to hear your insights and what you got out of the show, so please leave a comment and let us know what you think, or join the conversation in our Facebook group. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time on All Good Things.